Hey folks, Michael Mann with Michael Mann Security Services, and welcome to Detainment for Private Security Personnel. All right, if you want to get a hold of us, you can contact us at contact@michaelmannsecurityservice.com, or you can always get us by a phone call at 615-956-3912. And if I don't answer right away, leave me a message and I will call you back momentarily or as soon as I get away from what I'm tied up on when you call me. Okay, so just leave me a message. All right, so let's get into detainment for security personnel. So here's what we want to talk about this. If you are using a contractor, so you run a hotel, production site, some sort of retail location, whatever, you have contract security, which means you're hiring that out through somebody else, or you hire your own in-house security personnel, proprietary security. We want to know, or you want to be aware of when they can detain folks. What does that mean? What's it mean for a security officer to detain somebody? So let's go first to the law. So this is Tennessee state law. If you're not in the state of Tennessee, your state will have a statute that covers this, but I'll just go over just in general, like what we talk about in Tennessee or where this is found. And then again, I'll say something very quickly after this on other states. So in the state of Tennessee, where we're located, Tennessee Code Annotated, or TCA 3911-621, actually covers detainment in our use of force statute by a private citizen. And it talks about here, you'll see some language about making an arrest by law, the use of force, when you can actually use force, when if someone arrests during some sort of a seizure, and then like what level of force you can use. And that goes back to what we talked about in a previous video on circumstances, what types of force, deadly force, non-deadly force, etc. Okay, so in Tennessee, 3911-621 actually covers detainment because it covers use of force. But in other states, or if you're somewhere else, you're going to have a statute in your laws, in your state laws, that also cover or address this very thing. So again, if you're here in Tennessee, you can look up TCA 3911-621. It's going to give you some basic language about arrest or detainment and the use of force. So let me talk about it. So one, what's detainment? Detainment just means that at some point, someone either psychologically or physically cannot leave, or they feel they can't leave because the security officer has approached them and they start to talk to them. So here's when we can detain, when we can stop somebody, when a private citizen or a security officer can stop or detain somebody. Now, in most states in the U.S., private security officers have the same arrest authority as a private citizen. Okay, so some states are more limited than others on this, but I'm just going to talk about in general, and specifically we're focusing on Tennessee, but a lot of states follow the same guidelines that we do. Okay, so let's talk about detainment, use of force, what that means. So first of all, a security officer, a private citizen, can detain someone, number one, through consent. Now, an example of this is the security officer gets a call, or they see someone out in a parking area or out on the property they're protecting, whether they're contract or proprietary, and the person looks as if they don't belong. In security, we call this like suspicious behavior. So they get a call of a suspicious person, they see something, they go out there to talk to the person. So they go out, the person doesn't appear to be committing a crime. They go out to talk to the person. So customer service, they go out, they smile, they introduce themselves, ask this person what they're doing. And the person decides they want to talk back and have a conversation, they want to tell the guard. That is consent. So as long as the person that they have stopped or detained continues to talk and agrees to the detainment, that is detainment through consent. Now, there is another situation where we can also, or security officers can also detain, and that's when someone's committed a crime. Specifically in most states, here in Tennessee especially, we can, or a security officer can detain somebody when they see someone commit a misdemeanor in their presence. So a misdemeanor is a lesser offense, what we call a public offense. And just in general, like a misdemeanor, like the maximum penalty for like a single misdemeanor is going to be less than a year in jail, right? 11 months to 29 days. So that's the general definition of a misdemeanor. Examples of misdemeanors are things like trespassing, simple assault, here in Tennessee, like vandalism or damage to property under $1,000, theft under $1,000. So those are some examples of misdemeanor crimes, very specifically, that security officers experience or deal with on a daily basis. Okay, so if the security officer sees that person commit a misdemeanor, they have the ability to make a citizen's arrest or detain because they actually have witnessed a crime. Now, if the person commits a more serious crime, or the security officer has reasonable cause to believe that person committed a more serious crime, like a felony. Some examples of felony would be like aggravated assault, theft over $1,000 in the state of Tennessee, some sort of sexual crime like rape, in some states, arson. All the officer has to have, specifically in Tennessee, is reasonable cause to believe that that person committed that felony. And then they can detain for that also. Now, to enable to effectuate the arrest or follow through with the arrest, if the person, especially if they've committed the crime, the consent piece, let me go back to that for just a second. Someone consents during the interview and the security officer has not seen the person commit a crime or they have no reasonable cause to believe it, and the person that provides the consent during the detainment at any time says, I don't want to talk to you anymore, then there's nothing much that the security officer can do outside of just tell the person to leave, right? That can happen, okay? So now if they've committed a crime, a misdemeanor committed in the officer's presence, or they've got reasonable cause to believe the person committed a felony, then the security officer, if the person resists or flees, very specifically in the state of Tennessee, has the right to use the force necessary to effectuate or to accomplish that arrest. Okay, and that also includes up to the use of physical and mechanical restraints. So that means they can hold them, they can use handcuffs, etc. But again, they must resist or attempt to flee, right? So if there's resistance involved, then they can use the force necessary to effectuate that arrest. Now, anytime they use that force, the force has to be reasonable, so the minimum amount of force necessary to overcome that opposing force, and they're going to have to document and articulate that to someone. The officer will at some point, okay? Now, when it comes to the use of restraints, very specifically in the state of Tennessee, if that person resists or tries to flee, security officers can use mechanical restraints like handcuffs or flex cuffs, and then they can also physically restrain the person, like hold them down. But the only time they can do those things, again, is if the person tries to flee or resist arrest. And again, that's very specific for the state of Tennessee. If you're not in Tennessee, there's some laws that cover that, also or statutes where you are, and some of the states around us very specifically have very similar laws. Okay, so just a very quick security management minute on detainment by private security personnel. Again, if you've got questions or if you need services from us to include contract security guard services or assessments or training, you get us at contact@michaelmannsecurityservice.com, or you can call us at 615-956-3912. And remember, folks, it's about prevention, not response.